okay, so perhaps you guys can help us settle.
Oh, this is the old Kiryat, great. According to the Academy of the Hebrew Language, it should be with a Q, but I disagree with her.
There's a lot of debate to be had, but we can get to that. So as Eran was mentioning, part of our process was speaking with local municipal leaders and engaging community members who provided key insights into the systems and conditions that were going on in Kiryat Gat. But we also had the opportunity to spend time in the field observing the physical conditions, learning from experts like Benny, who provided key insights into how the place has developed and transformed over the years. And also spent some time doing some mapping and understanding the city from an aerial perspective and the larger scale systems that are going on. And these have led to a kind of a set of few key understandings. We observed some assets of the community, that in some senses the city is relatively contained and dense and provides a variety of built environments, different buildings and housing types with natural surroundings. In addition to that, it contains technology and industry that's ripe for applied innovation throughout the city. But given those two components, we also noticed that there was a kind of a distinct separation of the land uses throughout the city. So you have the existing residential core of the city and then the industrial zone to the southeast. And given the future plans, there's kind of this projection towards the expanded separation of these land uses. And this begged the question to us, is there an alternative form that we could present as well? So some of the existing conditions we observed presented a fragmented urban fabric, and this included the industrial zone being treated as its own entity rather than an extension of the city, the proposed northern neighborhood turning its back on the rest of the city rather than fully engaging it. The edges of the city we found often acted more as buffers than natural assets of the community. And there were vacant lots that permeated throughout the city that created underutilized voids in almost every neighborhood, including the industrial area. In addition to that, we heard a lot about kind of the social conditions of the city. So this is a distribution of the population throughout several cities in Israel, but looking at Kiryat Gat, you can kind of notice that the blue is the population distribution for Israel, so this is kind of the typical condition. But you'll notice that Kiryat Gat has the distinct condition of being unable to retain residents between 25 to 45, who are often the most productive members of a community, but also has a significant aging population as well as a youthful population ready to enter the workforce. So we noted these as kind of key opportunities and constraints for the city. So other social constraints were that the youth have few amenities that are going to provide them incentive to stay in the city. The elderly population could definitely use additional spaces and be better incorporated into new digital systems that we'll talk about. There's a lack of a legible image for the city, leaving it kind of unidentifiable for both residents and non-residents. And a lack of lifestyle options that supports a young, energetic workforce. So with all of this, again, we asked ourselves, could we define another strategy for growth for the city? And so this included kind of taking the existing vacant lot opportunities and really integrating and mixing the different land uses that could happen throughout the city rather than continuing the disparities of these distinct land uses. And then reinforcing the existing core, but also capitalizing on key areas that connect both parts of the city as well. And then ultimately that will lead to potential future growth as well, and we realize this is part of kind of the city's projections, so maybe it could, reinforcing the core can also lead to a multiplicity of extensions outside of the city as well. So in all, we're framing this as kind of developing Kiryat Gat as a laboratory for alternative urban growth. Posing the main question of how can we leverage the strengths of the existing city fabric with the potentials of a smart city supported by technology. And the way that we've embodied this is through 4 key themes. The first being the compact city, the mediated city, the natural city, and the mobility city, which each of the teams will present to you in just a moment. We've also, through this, defined multiple scales of approach, so starting with largest being the regional scale, so how do these proposals create connections to the surrounding context? At the urban scale, again, how is it about integrating different land uses? At the neighborhood scale, defining an urban infill strategy, and at the building scale, proposals for densification, but also alternative models for how buildings are used throughout the city. Again, we've also identified varying phases and timelines that can be incorporated into the proposals. Typical short and long-term developments for the city, but also one key thing that you'll hear throughout some of the presentations are these tactical interventions, which are cost-effective strategies that have immediate and apparent impacts for the city. So again, the compact city will present ideas about stitching the neighborhoods together, which include densifying and recovering the existing city fabric while preserving greenfield areas. The Media City team will present a flexible platform for a digital city, redefining the image of the city through technology. The Natural City will utilize nature to enhance the city itself, developing the city by reaching ecological and economic balance. And the Mobility City will be capitalizing on mobility experiences of residents and commuters, connecting people and linking the destinations that support and develop the city. So with that, I'd like to invite the Compact City team to come.
Hi everyone, I'm Ronnie, this is Alexis and Noah. And we would like to present to
מאוד. I said to Sharon, it's a pity I have to go at 4 because I have another event to attend.
So we'll make it short.
But I have also some input. Actually, we are all Northeasterns, but I'm thinking about the Wild West and Palo Alto, and it's the changing of the nature of the cities and the technology hubs in the West. I don't know if you are going to mention it. Palo Alto is a very interesting.
We will hear. I mean, okay. So
okay, I don't want to interrupt.
You will have the opportunity actually to comment, especially when we will talk about the digital city. So before you leave, give your comment. Yeah.
So we would like to present you the philosophy or the name of the compact city. This philosophy, we believe, overlayered with the other things that will be presented in the afterwards, will make a strong vision for Kiryat Gat. And we would like actually to start in the future. So by 2025 or 15 years from now, we could see in Kiryat Gat a larger population, thriving local economy, greater socio-economic diversity, also a stronger community-oriented city. Right now, Kiryat Gat has those discrete neighborhoods. We saw that they have strong communities, but they're really separated and scattered across the city.